Barakata Yahweh, Barakata Yahabushai, Bahasham, Barakahakwadash, Barakatum. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, glory, and infinite honors to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahabushai. Double honors to the apostles and elders, a great millstone who ruled and teach well. In peace and salutations to you sincere Akim out there, pushing this word in truth and sincerity to the four corners of the globe. May you brothers endure until the end. This is the brother Ra'aya with another video, and I'm going to start it off in Jeremiah chapter 51, verses 12 to 14. Set up the standard upon the walls of Babylon. And this is speaking of Babylon the Great, the United States of America. Make the watch strong, set up the watchmen, prepare the ambushes, for Yahweh hath devised and done that which he spake against the inhabitants of Babylon. And Yahweh Bahashem Yahabushai is quickly bringing judgment to Babylon, the United States of America, which when you look around, hey, this country is in a state of decay and chaos. You've got that issue at the border with all those migrants coming across, this cost of living crisis with everything going up through inflation, rumors, wars and rumors of wars of World War III, economic collapses, food shortages, civil unrest, the list goes on and on. O thou that dwellest upon many waters. And when you go to Revelation chapter 17, it shows that, the many waters that Babylon dwells upon is talking about many peoples. And America is what? That so-called great melting pot where many different nations come here to live that American dream, which is quickly becoming that American nightmare. Abundant in treasures, which that's easy to see. America is, even though it's on the decline, is still looked at as what? That place whose streets were paved with gold. And it's, the number one consumerist nation on the face of the earth. But thine end is come, and the measure of thy covetousness. Yahweh of hosts hath sworn by himself, saying, surely I will fill thee with men as with caterpillars, and they shall lift up a shout against thee. And those men that Babylon is being filled with, that are also preparing those ambushes, or a lot of those migrants coming across the border, which it's not just only, Central and South Americans coming across the border to look for a better life. You got a lot of gang members that have been released from prisons in Central and South America coming across the border. You've got people from other countries, from Russia, China, Iran, other Middle Eastern countries, African countries, you name it, coming across the border. And a lot of them are sleeper cells, as well as UN troops getting set up in here, getting ready to get the call to action when all hell breaks loose in this country, because it's going to be a lot of those migrants in uniform patrolling the streets of America, locking you Americans down and putting you down in if need be. But even before all that, we're seeing a lot of violence from these migrants coming across the border, and it's only going to intensify as the situation in America gets worse and worse, which brings me to my first bit of information in this video, and it's on the Instagram page, Ambassador of News. And this is a fair use copyright disclaimer. I do not own any of the footage in this clip, nor do I stand to gain from it monetarily. It is simply for educational purposes, but listen closely to what this Edomite has to say. Salaki, it's going to take a little time to load up. But what does the header at the bottom say? Sleeper cells from all over the world are already here. Again, I will fill thee with men as caterpillars to prepare that ambush.
Have I got one for you today, America? I'm just now started working on this story out of East Tennessee. Check this out. A illegal immigrant went into the backyard of a family barbecue. They were having a party for their 4-year-old daughter in their backyard. The dude went in the backyard with a assault pew pew, not American made. Okay? It was brought from another country here. Are you sticking with me here? Okay. Well, he went there with the intentions of taking out that entire random family. Luckily, the father was able to catch what was going on immediately, tackle the guy and wrestle the pew-pew away from him and subdue him. Did not unalive him, hurt him, but subdued him. Used adequate force to subdue him, just shy of lethal. Okay? Fast forward a little bit. He as in the homeowner, has now just been arrested for assault. The other guy has been let go on bond. That's not even the craziest part of this story. Do you want to know what the craziest part of this story is? When they're asking him why he did or attempted to do that, his answer was, I was told to do it before I left my country. This is what I was told to do. A lot of us were. This was our agreement to get out of jail. We come over here and do this.
And you had that situation a couple of months ago in Atlanta where that college student was ambushed by that migrant and poked to death. And then I believe down in Texas, you had two migrants take a 12-year-old girl under an underpass and SA her, and I think delete her as well. And all across the country, more and more reports of migrant violence are intensifying. And again, it's only going to happen more and more as we get closer and closer to all hell breaking loose during Jacob's trouble. And as you just heard in that clip, the father of the home, got penalized instead of the migrant. And that's the case in a lot of these situations. The migrants more or less get a slap on the wrist. And on top of that, a lot of them are getting money from the government, hotel rooms, cars, all that stuff to feel comfortable over here. And that's also a part of stirring up the civil unrest in this country, because you got a lot of Americans living paycheck to paycheck out here. And then when, crimes happen against them, they're usually the ones that are penalized for it. The elites have that saying, ordo ab chaos, order out of chaos. They're pushing to get you Americans to get riled up out here so then they can bring in that excessive force that they want to. But this is 2 Esdras chapter 15 in the Apocrypha. I'm going to read verse 15. For the sword and their destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up and fight against another. And that one people standing up and fighting against another goes into many things. One race of people fighting against another with race wars. What did Yahushua say in Matthew chapter 24? Nation shall rise against nation. Civil unrest with, one political group fighting another, which, we've got the presidential elections coming up, if we even make it there. And both sides think that if their candidate loses, that the direction they want the country to go in to keep their way of life going is going to come to an end. And of course, I've mentioned it in several videos. You had that Republican Ohio senator say that if Trump loses the election, I'll put that in quotes, that loses, that it'll take a civil war to take this country back. That one people standing up and fighting against another can go into American citizens fighting against these migrants and swords in their hands. And the modern day sword being the gun. And what did we just hear in that clip? That Migrant, when he came into that backyard, he had an assault pew pew in his hand. But now I'm going to go to my second bit of information on endoftheamericandream.com titled, Is Kamala Harris going to make the entire country as lawless as her hometown is? And it doesn't matter if Kamala Harris or Donald Trump is selected because your vote doesn't matter. The elites already know who they're going to put in there. But, regardless, this country is going to go into a state of chaos. And everything we're about to read about in this article, hey, that's on the forecast. The forecast of biblical prophecy. Kamala Harris is being touted as the solution to all of America's problems. Since she didn't do much as vice president, and since she didn't really accomplish much while she was in the U.S. Senate, many Americans feel like they don't really know her too well. So a lot of them are buying into the carefully crafted image that is now being projected by the Democratic Party. But is the image accurate? Harris spent many years ascending through the ranks of the Democratic Party in California. And of course, the Democratic Party has been systematically transforming that state into a hellhole. And hey, how California is, and how New York is how the elites, want the rest of the country to be. And most of these trends and policies that eventually become mainstream in the entire country, where they usually start in California or New York. There is a reason why millions of people have been moving out of California in recent years. But Harris isn't just from California. Her hometown is literally one of the worst places in the entire country. In January 2019, Kamala Harris launched her 2020 presidential campaign in Oakland. On Friday, Kamala Harris secured enough votes to become the Democratic Party's presumptive nominee hours after her supporters rallied in her hometown of Oakland. As some put it, Oakland is all in for Kamala. The last time Oakland had a Republican mayor was in 1977. This is a city that is completely and utterly dominated by the Democrats. Under their rule, it has become a cesspool of drugs, homelessness, violence, and theft. Here's just one example of how incredibly lawless Oakland has become. In early July, a mob of 80 to 100 looters barged into an Oakland gas station and convenience store and stripped the business bare. According to the New York Post, the mob originated nearby at a so-called sideshow, which is essentially lawless street racing that's become common in Oakland. It was bad enough that the store was hit by looters, but what made it worse is that the police took 9 hours to respond, according to the owner. It took 9 hours for the police to show up. A few years ago, Kamala Harris was one of the politicians that was publicly calling for police budgets to be reduced. When you do that, this is what happens. And, that was all by design as well. Mainly back during 2020 with the George Floyd protests, you had many people calling for defunding the police, and a lot of police budgets were slashed, and a lot of police officers left the force. And then what? As we're seeing, crime is ramping up. This is Matthew chapter 24, verse 12. And, this is Yahushua, the Son of the Most High, whom the world ignorantly refers to as so-called Jesus, telling his disciples of what would be taking place during the end times, the last days, which we're currently living in, really the last seconds of the last days. And because iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold. And when we get that word iniquity in the Strongs, it's G458, anomia, which reads, the condition of without law, because ignorant of it, because of violating it, contempt and violation of law, iniquity, wickedness. And this is ultimately talking about the world being without the laws, statutes, and the commandments of the scriptures being instituted. But it can go into these different governments and their laws being violated, and people looking at them in contempt, and us being in a condition of without law, which again, with a lot of these police forces being defunded and a lot of officers, resigning, and what recruitment numbers being so low, you've got a growing state of lawlessness out here, which emboldens these people to do more criminal acts. At this point, Oakland is so lawless because iniquity shall abound that it even has a major problem with pirates. Oh, and pirates, yes, pirates are a major problem in the waters around Oakland. The pirates reportedly come from the city's myriad homeless encampments. Police have made a few arrests, but the problem now seems endemic in Oakland's harbors. California liberalism has transformed Oakland into one of the worst cities in North America. And if she is given the opportunity, Kamala Harris will impose California liberalism on the whole nation. And it doesn't matter whether it's Republican or Democrat. That's just that left-right paradigm to create further divisions amongst these people. The elites have their ultimate goal, which is to create chaos in America, to bring that order, that new world, order. Other cities that have been ruled by Democrats for decades are experiencing similar results. Just look at what is happening to Seattle. One man recently ventured into downtown Seattle in the middle of the night, and the footage that he captured looks like something out of a horror show. At one point in my life, I spent some time in the Seattle area. I can hardly believe what has happened to that once great city. Of course, the entire country is going downhill really fast. According to a new report that was just released, shoplifting in the United States increased by 24% during the first half of this year. Shoplifting increased by 24% in the first half of 2024, according to the Council on Criminal Justice's mid-year report, even as the other crime levels decreased. In many cases, shoplifting is seen as a crime of necessity for low-income Americans. As inflation continues to impact both businesses and families, shoplifting rates have surged even higher. Shoplifting is such a widespread crime during a time of high inflation. It is actually quite common when you look at similar times from other countries in the past. Alex Bean, a financial literacy instructor at the University of Tennessee at Martin, told Newsweek, the 1-2 punch that consumers face is not just higher prices, but also a drawback of additional financial resources they would normally qualify for because of their current employment and income outlook. And things, even though prices are going up, are still, relatively, and I use that word sparingly, affordable out here. But the situation is only going to get worse and quickly become even more affordable. People are already concerned about which bill am I going to have to neglect for next month. Is it going to be the light bill so I can buy more food? Is it going to be my car note so I can keep the lights on? Am I going to get evicted? Etc., etc. So you're going to see an increased rate of shoplifting out here. And then when society, finally does have a collapse out here and these stores get ransacked, which they will. And remember, a lot of these grocery stores and other places have supplies only for about 72 hours. It's a just-in-time delivery service. When those store shelves get cleared, which they will, what do you think is going to happen next? Back in 2nd Esdras chapter 15, verse 19, a man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword, mainly that gun, and spoil their goods because of the lack of bread. Food shortages out here, empty store shelves, people starving, people looking at their loved ones starved, and for great tribulation, all the other judgments coming during Jacob's trouble. So it will get to the point to where people are going to go from breaking into Walmart to breaking into their neighbor's house, as it said, to spoil their goods with the sword due to the lack of bread. Shoplifting was already at record levels coming into this year, and now it has jumped another 24%. That is insane. In some of our major cities, shoplifting is wildly out of control. Recently, one reporter spoke to a woman that works at a CVS location in Washington, D.C., where there is constant theft. The Center Square spoke with a 38-year-old woman who goes by Jones, who works at a CVS within eyeshot of the U.S. Capitol building in Washington, D.C. Jones told the Center Square that shoplifters take from her store daily. When Jones does see customers steal something, she doesn't stop them. "We don't get paid for that," she said. This is happening right now in the shadow of the U.S. Capitol building. When something is stolen, this woman says that employees are not even supposed to contact the police. Instead, they are just supposed to write down what was stolen on a clipboard. She said procedure is not to notify police, but to write a description of the thief and what was stolen down on a form on a clipboard. Jones's clipboard has seemingly 100 pages stacked, at least one for each day, many of them filled with reported incidents. By 11:15 a.m. Thursday morning, when Jones spoke with the Center Square, the store had already been stolen from 4 times that day, at least as far as she knew. This is what anarchy looks like. This is what iniquity abounding looks like. And probably about a month ago, I did a video showing how some, delivery trucks, the companies for them are starting to hire armed guards, because not only are shoplifters hitting the stores, but they're starting to hit the delivery drivers and taking stuff directly off the truck. And the chaos in our major cities is constantly getting worse because Joe Biden's administration refuses to secure the border. It is being reported that the most violent gang in Venezuela has decided to move its headquarters to a city in Mexico that is directly across the border from El Paso, Texas. Venezuela's most violent gang. And, ever since Joe Biden really opened up the borders, Venezuela's, prisons and mental institution populations have declined greatly. They've been released. Where do you think they coming to? Venezuela's most violent gang, which has already sparked chaos across the U.S. again. And I will prepare the ambushes and fill Babylon up with men as caterpillars, has moved its headquarters to the outskirts of a major American city. DailyMail.com can exclusively reveal. Dubbed the epitome of evil, the notorious criminal organization Tren de Aragua, or TDA as it is known by federal agents, previously operated out of an infamous South American prison so completely under gang leaders' control that it had its own zoo, swimming pool, and nightclub. But after Kingpin Hector Guerrero Flores escaped last year, the mafia moved its command center to Ciudad Juarez in Mexico on the U.S. border, directly across from El Paso, Texas, local officials said. Since the border is wide open, this new location gives this gang the perfect staging ground for conducting operations inside the United States. In fact, this gang has already become extremely active in major cities far from the border, such as Denver and New York. A memo by the Department of Homeland Security recently revealed that the TDA members in Denver have been given a green light to shoot or attack police officers, reported Fox News. Again, and one people shall stand up and fight against another with swords in their hands. Another example, gang members going against the authorities. But let's go back to this 2 Esdras 15. I'm going to read verse 16. For there shall be sedition among men. And sedition means conduct or speech inciting rebellion against a ruling authority or monarch. And with gang leaders giving their members a go-ahead to take out, U.S. police officers, that's definitely seditious talk. And invading one another, they shall not regard their kings nor princes, these people in the government, from your mayors to your governors, senators, presidents, as well as the authorities like the police or the military that uphold the system. And again, we're seeing a regard to that authority with the gang members getting the go-ahead to delete police officers if need be. And the course of their actions shall stand in their power. The gang is also thought to have joined forces with other criminal networks in New York, unleashing violent schemes, including brazen, moped phone thefts. That's it with this article. But hey, as we can clearly see, the Most High is setting up Babylon to be taken. When I read these last few verses in 2 Esdras 15, a man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able. What does that sound like? A state of martial law. Lock DOWNSs, which there are already talks of more pestilence-related L-downs coming. And then if there's just a state of anarchy and chaos on the streets of America, what's going to be instituted? Martial law, things locked down, and people needing the right identification to move freely. For because of their pride, and this is ultimately why Yahweh Bahashem Yahawashi is bringing judgment to Babylon, for the pride that you people have been walking in. What does it say in 2 Esdras 8 verse 50? For many great miseries shall be done to them that in the latter times have walked in great pride. And also, even above that, it's the time of the judgment for America, and you Edomites or so-called white people that run it, for the afflictions you've caused to the children of Israel, who are known as the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans today. You thought that you got away cleanly after stealing this land from the northern kingdom, and then the southern kingdom was brought here from the west coast of Africa to be in hardcore slavery. And since, for the last couple of 100 years, you Edomites have been untouched. Well, it was only for a season. And now that season of you living deliciously and dwelling without care, as it says in Isaiah 47, as well as in Ezekiel 38, is coming to an end. For because of their pride, the city shall be troubled, and the houses shall be destroyed. What? A man having no pity upon his neighbor, but breaking into their houses due to with the force of the sword, due to the lack of bread and for great tribulation. Hey, that very first clip we went into, that migrant coming into that guy's backyard, with that assault pew. For because of their pride, the cities shall be troubled. Oh, and as we just read in that article, these cities clearly are being troubled with violent crime, major theft. The list goes on and on. The houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. Hey, and as the window darkens for Babylon, not just men, but women, children, everybody that doesn't have the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding of Yahweh Bahashem Yahawashi to be the stability of their times, hey, it's not looking good for you. You'd be terrified. But that's it with this video. With this video, I hope you sincere Akim and Akwath were edified. Just keep strong. As we can clearly see, we are almost out of this final wicked captivity of the heathen nations, chiefly of the Edomites. And as always, I'm going to say Abad Babal, Kwam Yasharala, and until next time, Shalom.